Welcome, everybody, to another session of Career Talks. As always, I'm your host, Orlando Haynes, and my sole goal is to provide actionable advice for job seekers to impact their career and life. And I do that through interviewing amazing people week after week. So I'm super excited about tonight. I've been connected with this young lady probably over a year on LinkedIn, and just seeing her, her feed and all the content that she provides to job seekers. She is also in the space of career development. She's also a talent acquisition professional and the founder of Trap Recruiter, which was funny because I asked her, where did you get that name? So I asked her again here on live so she can speak to that. But the word trap, for our people, we kind of know what that is, but I love to get get her thoughts on that just a little bit more. But I'm definitely excited about the topic we're going to discuss tonight. Dealing with job interruptions. That's very interesting to me. So without further ado, let me bring on Miss Kirsten Craigs.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Orlando. It's great to be here. I am Kirsten Craigs, the Trap Recruiter. And I was backstage laughing when he was explaining what does trap mean and what it means to our people. And just so we're clear, yes, but also I use TRAP as an acronym to explain my recruiting philosophy, to be, just as general as possible. So the T, the R, the A, and the P stand for trusted, relationship builder, accountable, and proactive, which is a proactive approach that I take to recruiting.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Glad that you broke that down. So again, super excited that you said yes to this interview. Like I mentioned, I've been watching your feed for a while and noticed all the great content and stuff that you provide to job seekers out there. And first question would be, what got you into talent acquisition? What got you into this field?
I got into this field by mistake, not really knowing what recruiting was. It was 1999, and I was just looking for a new job. Monster.com was the hot place to go. I'm aging myself very, very badly. And
I'm right there with you.
I put my resume, see, back then, you could just post your resume and people would come and just talk to you, send you messages. So I posted my resume and got invited to an interview for something called a technical recruiter. And I didn't really know what that was, but when I met the owner of this small boutique staffing company, he said, "You have the right attitude and I can train you. You have the right personality." And I learned recruiting very early on, just being in the area that I'm in Northern Virginia, in the DC metro area, where there are a good number of defense contractors and intel contractors. One of our clients was in need of an entire recruiting staff and ended up bringing 4 of us in-house to be their recruiters, in-house or corporate recruiters. So I quickly transitioned from a staffing company to a corporate recruiting job, but I have from that time taken the way I was trained as more of a salesperson, as more of a close the deal, as a, huge, relationship builder, getting to the know, like all of that stuff that I learned, the urgency, took that into corporate life, and I've been successful, thankfully.
Awesome. And it's funny that you say that, that you kind of got into it by mistake. My story, and I won't go into it much, but I was a candidate first, then got called back by the recruiting firm that was marketing me 6 months later that I didn't get the job. So same thing. I had no clue what it was. I was like, what is recruiting? What is this you calling sales, and how is this sales? And then 20 years later, haven't looked back since. So I'm right there with you with the post and monster.com.
Monster.com. Shout out. They got to pay. That's a commercial now. They have to pay you.
Right. Sponsor. This show is sponsored by, send those ad dollars. So loving this topic that you threw out, dealing with job interruptions.
Yes.
So explain that to the folks, and then we could dive into different examples, and then we'll pick some questions off based on that. So what is job interruptions?
A job interruption happens when you have been working for some time, and for whatever reason, now you are not. I I went through one, which is what Trap Recruiter was born out of. Me getting laid off really accelerated my starting my own consulting company and doing things for myself as opposed to doing things beholden to a organization, having someone be my employer. So it was very difficult at first, especially being in the job that you're in. I guess I'm not going to make it seem like we do surgery, but can you imagine a doctor needing surgery and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then being like, they want to tell the person that's going to operate on them like how to do it, what to do. They're criticizing everything, and that's where I found myself like, wow, like this sucks. Like searching for a job's not fun. Not having a job is not fun. Being an unemployed recruiter has a certain stigma because people are like, well, you're a recruiter. Get other people jobs. Get yourself a job, dummy.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And there was a lot of growing that I did in that time period, even to the point that because I still stayed active on social media, because I still did the things I was doing, blogging and webinars and, going to speak at events and, holding this, we'll call it a secret,
Mm-hmm.
I was contracting with some of my friends or doing short projects here and there. But for the most part, I wasn't what you would call fully employed. So I remember one day, a friend of mine who does a job fair, he had a speaker that unfortunately had to drop out and do something else and called me for a favor. It's like, hey, can you come speak? Can you come do a talk on at the job fair? And I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? And he's like, anything you want. And I said, well, before I agree, we need to have a conversation offline. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I didn't know you weren't working. Like, why didn't, again, like, why didn't you tell me? And he was just like, that's not a big deal. He's like, use that, like encouraging me to use that.
Mm-hmm.
And if it had not been for that, I don't think I would have, I don't think I would have been able to leverage what I was doing, leverage what I was learning, leverage being what I call in between jobs and still being able to empower other people to get their next job and to, be confident and do all of that. So it was more so me like using my own experience and pouring back into people the stuff that I was going through. Like all those motivation you see I do Motivation Monday. That
Mm-hmm.
started because I needed to be motivated. That started because I needed encouragement. Like I was talking to myself. Like it was all the stuff I needed. So I've been very, very grateful, very fortunate, like I said, to have the network that I do, folks like you, the friends that I had and people that just said, just do, like, keep going, just do
Mm-hmm.
it. Like people need you, even if you don't, have a well-known brand behind your name or something like that.
Exactly. Now, did you find yourself, because I was in the same boat, did you
Mm-hmm.
find yourself where you were like, I have all this knowledge, tips, tools, and techniques that I tell other people. I now need to apply it to my life and see if it really works.
Well, yes, and that was it. Like I had always been doing that, even
Mm-hmm.
even at the end of what I'll call my corporate career, the last 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
I worked in operations. So I was doing training. I was, picking systems, doing metrics. When we were de-scoping projects, I was the one that they were flying out to do, resume building and interview techniques as a, career transition for our employees. I was the one that was training hiring managers how to use our systems, how to write requisitions. I was building reports and doing all these things. And then when people were like giving me, like I said, little projects, they would be reaching out to me like, hey, I need this. Can you do it? And then one of my friends was like, why don't you charge people? Like, why are you doing this? Like, why isn't this your business? Like, why aren't you doing this for yourself? And I said, I never thought to do that for myself. Like, never thought to do that. So
Wow.
that's how I got there.
And so you started Trap Recruiter, LLC.
2017. Yes.
And again, that was, break that acronym down one more time for me.
Trusted relationship builder, accountable, proactive. And it's my philosophy on recruiting.
How did you come up with that? How did that manifest itself?
By mistake. Again, everything, there are happy accidents, so we'll call
Mm-hmm.
them. I love music. I love trap music, gospel music, and I really shouldn't say I love trap music. I like Jeezy, the older stuff like Jeezy, Ti, stuff with a hard bass line. It talks about selling drugs out of the bando. You know, um, I don't really know any of the new stuff, and I like old school rap, and
Right.
I like gospel music. And one of my friends calls me kind of like a human jukebox, because if I hear a song one time, I have it memorized, like at least the melody. So you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being at work one day with a friend that you have your mask on at work sometimes, and it was our first time hanging out outside of work, and we're driving in the car and a song came on and I just started rapping and she was like, "This is the girl that wears cardigans and glasses to work that looks like a librarian." Like,
You were a walking contradiction there a little bit, huh?
and never mind. So she bought me this shirt that says "I love God and trap music." And I would wear it because I love graphic tees as well. And
Mm-hmm.
then another friend, we were doing one of those Facebook tests. And as I was trying to build what was going to be my blog, trying to come up with a name, like one evening we were talking, and one of the questions was like, if you were known for something, what would it be? And the response was trap recruiting. And I said, wait a minute, like we have something there. And together he and I came up with what that would mean. Like I was like, should that be an acronym? Should it be this? And I got a lot of pushback, especially being in the circle, my main, HR recruiting circle. Our corporate life is very conservative
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that there's not a lot of swaying away from or being innovative in a way that appeals to different people, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I got a lot of pushback, people telling me I would not be successful, people telling me not to use that name. No one will know what it is. Like people will hate it. You're going to block yourself from getting the big contracts and the good work and the big work. But at the end of the day, I reach the people that I'm supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And if nothing else, the opposite happened because, like you, one of the first things people do when they want to connect with me is, what is trap recruiting? Like, what is trap recruiter? Explain it to me. Like, they're interested. They want to know what the story is behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad I took that risk, but I kept it close. I was kind of nervous about it for a long time.
That's funny though, yeah, because I think I was like, what made you come up with the name? Because I knew what trap was. Or I was like, am I thinking this correctly? So let me just ask her. So
Right.
now, when you're dealing with clients and that are going through, dealing with the whole thing of with job interruptions, what are those conversations like? Like, do they even is there an epiphany for them, or you're bringing that to them to say, look,
Yeah.
this is where you're at?
Sometimes. I'll say overall, most folks, they really need to get their confidence built back up. They really need someone to tell them that everything's okay. And like I said, it depends on where they are. I have people who I work with folks who have either never had a job because they were interns or they're, early career. So they really need help, like navigating in terms of like putting their best foot forward, really designing and developing their resumes, their speaking points, what things are important. I pull out of them what things are important to you. I never try to get people to fit into a culture because I warn them against that. Again, having
Mm-hmm.
had that experience, you don't want to work somewhere where you're not happy. And I tell this story of how, and again, it's another what people would think is an embarrassing story, but I was so quick to take a job
Mm-hmm.
uh, while I was unemployed. I was so quick to take a job that it lasted for 9 days. Like I didn't even make
Wow.
it through the second week. And I just said, I can't work here anymore. And all of the alarm bells were going off even beforehand. I have friends calling me like, don't, no, I'm not going to call the place out because, again, it's a small community. But my friends were like, don't work there. Don't do it. You're not going to like it. It's not for you. and it was horrible. Like every day it was horrible. I was like, can't do this. So I tell people that, and you never want to get into a situation where you just take something. I mean, I'm never going to tell someone not to take a job. I'm never going to tell someone don't feed your family, don't
Right.
feed yourself, don't be housed, don't have something, because it's easier to get a job when you have a job. But I am going to tell you not to be miserable. And I promise you, if I had made the decision before that to take the job that I ended up with, which was like 20 hours a week, driving to my friend's church to be their, part-time administrative assistant just because they needed help, I would have taken that job instead of the one that paid, all this money, because it wasn't a matter of how much money am I making. It's a matter of, am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I learning new skills? Am I building a new skill set? Again, am I happy? Like, if you're not happy, you can't do the work, especially not a recruiter.
That's true. That is definitely true. That is definitely true. So, what are some ways that you're communicating with the clients that you have now on dealing with that? Right. So there's the recognizing that you're in this gap, and you're like, this is a job interruption. Now, how do you deal with it? What's the coaching process like with them? And I know it's different per
It's
candidate.
different for, yes, it is, because it depends on the person and what they
Mm,
need. But it's a matter of, again, it's a confidence builder. It's leveraging your skill set and your experience and tying it to a job. For women in particular, and especially for Black women, we tend to not apply to positions where we don't meet every single criteria. And I can't remember who said this, so please forgive me if you're watching. I would love to credit you. Actually, I think it was my friend Jamie Gaiman, now that I'm thinking about it. And he said something profound that I was saying it a different way.
mm,
But this makes it a little bit more, this makes it a little bit easier to digest. Why would you want to why would you want your next job? And this is for people that are employed or people that are considering it, to be exactly the same as what you're doing right now. Where are you going? You're already at the ceiling. You want a position where you can grow, where you can build, where you can learn something else. And I have been imparting that to people, but like, to say it that way, like him using, like, you hit the top. Like, if you're already at the
mm,
top, why do you want that job? Like,
mm.
if you've already been there, done that, that's not the right job for you. Go for it. And I've been saying, and you'll see it on, multiple places I've written about it and things. I'm like, pursue the job that you want, not the job that you think you can get. And people look at me and I'm like, I say it
That's good.
again,
That's
pursue
good.
the job that you want, not the job that you think you can get. Another commonality that I have to break down is people elevating a position and elevating an employer before they do themselves.
Mm,
So especially on their resume, they're talking about what they talking about the company, they're talking about the job. They're not talking about the things that would not have happened if they were not there. And
that's
and
good.
again, we say that in a different way all the time. We tell people in that kind of arrogant way, if you passed away today, they're going to hire, they're going to find someone to replace you tomorrow. But I mean, we say and some of that
Yeah,
stuff is counterproductive in ways, but it's the same thing. I'm like, you're not beholden to this organization. You're not this job. You're you doing a job. You're you giving your gifts and talents to this organization. Talk about yourself, elevate yourself.
that's good. I like that. And I'm gonna take a step back to one of the things you said about for Black women not applying to jobs unless they check all the points.
Yes.
And the question is simple, like, why is that?
We diminish
Where's
ourselves.
mm,
We diminish ourselves. Point blank. I know women do it. Women across, no matter what their race or ethnicity is, do it, but women of color, Black women, do it even more so.
wow. And not to go too deep, but do you think that's something coming from society and how it was structured, men supposed to be superior, and so forth and so on, and it trickled down to where their mindset is kind of encased into thinking like, if I'm not 10 times better than my male counterpart, I shouldn't move forward.
I can for this I can speak from experience, and I can
Hmm.
only speak for myself and the other Black women that I know. It's not a matter of competing against men; it's a matter of competing against the world.
Mm.
Like Black people
Yep.
are told you have to be 10 times better. Black people are told that mediocre is not, or average is not acceptable. Like
Hmm.
there has to be this level of supreme performance that in a lot of ways is not healthy, is
No.
not natural, and does not get you anything extra. Trust me.
especially
Doesn't.
especially if your intent to try to perform at such a high level is to just prove people wrong, and it's not sustainable.
And you set expectations that you're
Hmm.
always going to perform at that level or higher. I mean, and then the
Hmm.
expectation is more, 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 more.
Mm. And I love what you said here too about elevating the job and the company before ourselves. In my head, it sounds, well, no, it doesn't sound similar to that, but explain that a little bit more.
So, for example, have you ever looked at a profile on LinkedIn, and what is the first thing it says? It has their name, it has their job title, and then it goes on to be like the same first page of the career page from the organization that they work for. Like they're not describing their work. Like I said, they're describing their job. They'll be like,
Hmm.
Trap Recruiter is a woman-owned Black business that caters to. And I'm like, okay, who are you? Like, what do you do?
Wow. That's cool. So, what would you suggest for those folks who are watching now or who will watch the replay and just say, okay, how do I elevate me on, and you're saying both the LinkedIn platform and resume,
And their
uh,
resume. Yeah.
above the company
Use their
itself?
use that value proposition, use that summary that you put at the beginning. Not that, not this. We don't need all that, but that what they call your elevator pitch. I call it a
Hmm.
value
Hmm.
proposition.
Right.
Talk a, Give them your value proposition. Give them the trailer before the movie so they want to come and and pay to see the whole thing.
That's good. That's good. So, with back to the whole dealing with the job interruption, what are clients coming to you and saying? Um, like, what are their struggles? So, whether they work 15 years and all of a sudden they find themselves in an interruption.
The first
Like,
thing is a lot of people are angry, especially when they're laid off, because they feel betrayed. They feel like someone singled them out,
mm,
and they feel like they're the only person that's going through that. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I like to tell the truth. Not to say that I would lie, but that's why I tell my story. I tell my truth and the things that happened to me, so that they know you're not alone. Like this has happened to other people, and just get them ready, just get them right size, like really make a plan. What are your must haves? What is your ideal for your next job? Are you
mm,
willing to take what I call, like I said, an in between job, the job at the church for 20 hours, um, you know, typing up bulletins and answering the phone? Are you willing to be a greeter at uh, Target or Walmart? Well, don't work at Walmart. You might get beat up. But are you willing to do certain things? Because I tell folks all the time, like you're constantly networking. You're all like your next job is anywhere. You
mm,
know, it could be the person standing next to you if you will open up your mouth. Like that could be that connection. Open your mouth. Like I didn't open my mouth soon enough, or I didn't open my mouth to the right people. That it took me a little bit longer to get where I am now and to get through that transition. But if you
mm.
just open your mouth, if you tell people that you're available, if you tell people that you need some help, like it's there. Your friend works, your family members work, the people that you take your kids to practice with, they work somewhere. Ask them, are y'all hiring?
So great transition to that too. So aside from your immediate family, right? Who are those right people to open your mouth to?
Okay, so as a recruiter, please, any of my family members watching, I am not, though I know.
I don't know where this is going, but go ahead.
Don't rely, you can't always rely on Ray Ray. No. Or you might be Ray Ray, and I might have to have a difficult conversation with you
That part.
and explain to you why my particular employer may not be the best fit for you. Not that you're not a good fit, but that my employer may not be a fit for you.
It sounds like it's not you, it's me.
Exactly.
The reverse breakup. Yeah.
Yes. And so the next best place, like I said, is your former coworkers. The networking. Talk to recruiters, please. Like, we're here to help. Talk to HR people. However people get hired into an organization, connect with one of them, connect with some of them, get referrals, get introduced. Don't be afraid. I mean, we have the internet now. It's a little there, things are much more open than they were when I started job searching, years and years ago. Things are much more open in terms of access, and then the number of opportunities that comes with that access. So like I said, it's a matter of talking to people, your old coworkers, your friends, your network on LinkedIn, recruiters. I know y'all don't like us, but we are a good resource. HR people, someone that retired. I don't know if they still do this. I haven't been to coffee shop in a minute, but certain coffee shops, they'll have lists of jobs and business cards sitting there.
Oh yeah.
You better take a picture of them business cards. I did say steal. I said take a picture. That's different. Picture. It's public.
So you mentioned something earlier, right? The value proposition. So taking a step back, what if these folks, because again, some folks have been in corporate America or whatever role for a long time and never had to, brush off their resume, update it, interview in a while. Yeah. Where do they start developing? How do they start developing the value proposition? They won't know what that is.
I do think people know how to craft it. What an elevator pitch is, and it takes time. I encourage folks to say it as well. Like, it's that thing that you say, like, what do you do? What do you want people to know about you? And again, it's not necessarily I'm an accountant with 20 years of experience who X, Y, and Z. It's, hi, I'm Kirsten, and I solve complex problems for mid-sized companies by whatever tax. I don't know what accountants do, so I probably shouldn't have picked that job. Although my mother was an accountant. She's retired now. Shout out to Dee Dee. I should know better what she did for a living, but no, I don't. Like, I save companies money, perhaps, or I get them. I solve complex tax problems, whatever the case may be.
Awesome. Got it. Okay. So now with the trust factor, when you were coming up with Trap Recruiter, were you thinking trust as in how you're working with clients? Where did that trust acronym come from? Oh, that word.
Trust is the foundation, because the R is relationships, and in recruiting, relationship building is key. We'll say relationship building is the foundation, but you can't build relationships without trust. Right. So trust is the foundation. And I think I wrote a post about this some years ago, and I used the old PE song, Public Enemy song, Can't Trust It. And I was explaining why people don't trust HR and why people don't trust recruiting, and how we needed to get that back. And it's a matter, like, once trust is broken, it's difficult to get it back. So build it first, like establish it. then maintain it, and then expand on it. But I think we miss out on that because we tend to break trust and breach trust for what we think are temporary, for what become temporary wins instead of long-term gains.
Got it. Awesome. So and I'm gonna break down each one with you. Want you to break down each letter. So the relationship piece. Were you thinking in terms of as a business owner when you said relationships, or just as an individual, as a human? I need to have relationships to build my career. What was that?
I was really everything. I was still thinking, and I still do, in recruiter mind. My company was designed because I do have two parts. I have the career coaching side, and then I have the talent acquisition consulting side, which does recruiting, which does training and other things related to TA. I was really thinking about bridging the gap between job seekers and organizations,
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking about building a relationship that way, building a bridge and connecting people who did not have my experience, my subject matter expertise of being able to get a job, and then the organizations who are open to, perhaps taking someone who had a career interruption and training them to do a different job, or taking someone who doesn't have, from a different background, who maybe they wouldn't have considered before, instead of just hiring the same people over and over again. So that's where that came from. It came from me, like I said, wanting to bring other people together, as opposed to me thinking about building relationships for myself. I think that comes from that as well.
Okay, break down A for us.
Accountability. So that's a big thing for anyone,
yep.
Especially recruiters. And accountability being missing, again, from the recruiting process, in a sense of not getting back to people, to, not really searching for the right talent for your hiring managers, not being accountable to the job seeker and telling them the truth, stringing them along, knowing that the job's not real, and pretending that it is, like doing all those things, like being accountable to people, being accountable to hiring managers, being accountable to job seekers, being accountable to the people that I coach. And the thing that I'm still learning, and I promise you this, is being accountable to myself, like not putting myself and my stability before taking care of everybody else.
I like that. Okay. And go ahead to P. Deliver P.
That proactive approach, get out there and do it. Don't post and pray. You can't just open a job and think that it's going to get filled. I see a lot of people that still do that. We call it posting and praying.
Yep.
And nobody's applying.
Right. We wouldn't need you if they're applying in masses.
Correct. There you go.
So going back to accountability, you spoke to it from a recruiter standpoint. So what's the accountability from a job seeker standpoint that you're educating them, or what advice are you giving them to say, here's what you need to be accountable for during your...
So y'all need to be accountable for yourselves as well. Finding a job is a full-time job. And I'm just, there's no way around that. If you are just applying to one job a week, it's going to take you a little bit longer. Now, I'm not saying that one job that you apply to might be the one that snaps and gets you. It might, but it's a better chance that it's not. So, apply to more than one job. Follow up. Be on time. Be on time. Be on time. As you can see, I have an issue with time. Be respectful of people's time. Also, be accountable to yourself. So here's the thing. We all have bad days. We all have days where we're below the line. And I have hiring managers who cancel an interview the day of or 5 minutes before, and they might have when they have a good reason. Now, I don't like the ones that make me sit there and wait, and then I have the job seeker contacting me like they didn't show up. I don't know what's happening. And then it's, oh, I forgot, or oh, something else came up, after the fact. So let me know, be accountable that way, be ahead of it. So if you are having a bad day, job seeker, or if you have a cold or you're not presenting your best self, um, let me know that. Like we are at a state now where people are a lot more empathetic, and people are taking into account that no one is having a perfect life right now. Not that we ever did, but especially right now, no one is having a perfect life. Things come up. If you need to reschedule, do that. That's fine, but don't expect that the recruiter who has 15 other people that they're trying to keep up with, or even more than that, that they're going to be the ones that are going to come back to you and be like, oh yeah, by the way, hi, what's going on? No, you have to be the one that reaches back out to them and says, yes, now I'm ready, and let them know that. And then, just don't waste my time. Oh, hello. Oh, you're on mute.
What about now?
There we
Perfect.
go.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. My mic, it looked like the mic unplugged. So what you just finished off saying about reaching back out leads into the proactive piece there. So what are some strategic steps? So if you were to put together a proactive plan for a job seeker, what would
You put me on the spot.
what would you say? Just your top 2 or 3 items to that you would say, hey, start with this, then that, then this.
Okay, so don't be a bugaboo, and that's a song too. Ed O.G. and the Bulldogs. Look it up later. Don't be a bugaboo. Like I am. You don't have to. You don't have to email me, text me, call me, FaceTime me, send me try to G chat. You don't have jump in my DMs on LinkedIn, tweet at me. Like, please don't. Like, I saw it, and I like. Can I have 5 minutes, please?
Yeah, I saw
So
it.
there's that. Set expectations. And because there are some recruiters and some hiring managers who don't set expectations. So if they don't, ask for a timeline so that you have some expectations. Because I encourage you, I tell people, get to the no. And by no, I mean next opportunity. You don't want to waste time. Again, you don't want to have these long stretches of time in between when you submitted your resume, got that first contact, and then it's 2 weeks later and you're just getting the phone screen. Now it's another week later and, oh, let me check and see if we want to move forward. You see what I'm saying? Like all of that stuff, like don't, and if you do have that type of situation, I hope that you will not put all your eggs in that basket and that you'll keep moving and you'll keep looking. Like, don't stop looking after you get an interview. Don't quit your job until you have a signed offer letter with an established start date and you have met all of the contingencies that were listed before it says you can start. Please don't do that. I am seeing that. I've seen some people that have screamed and yelled like, oh, I had a contingent offer and they rescinded it. I said, okay. I'm like,
what'd you fail? You might have failed something.
But I tell people all the time, all offers are contingent.
Yeah.
It even says it there. Contingent upon. All offers are contingent. So again, don't quit your job until you have satisfied all of the contingencies successfully.
Exactly. And I like that you said there too about don't oversaturate your communications to the recruiter, because a lot of recruiters, not recruiters, job seekers, I don't know if they realize it or not. It seems that way, maybe sitting on the side that we sit on, is that hiring managers, they have a life too, right? There's things, life happens. So hiring managers are just not sitting there waiting for the next recruiter all the time. They still have their projects. Something can happen with their kid, or something goes wrong here, something tragic, and they got to go. And then there's a waiting period. There's a gap,
Right.
not because they're not interested. It's because just life kicks in, and now we gotta pause for that second. So I just want for job seekers to understand that too, that these are humans that are on the other side,
Right.
ready to meet and talk with you. That if there's a loss in communication or a slowdown, it could be because of something's happening that we wouldn't share with you necessarily the details, but
Correct.
we'll just say, hey, something's going on. They're gone for this period of time. We'll circle back. So that's just a side note for job seekers to think to be like, okay, let me not barrage them several times like you said, DM,
A bugaboo.
Facebook, a bugaboo. That's crazy. What's the number one thing you're hearing now from your clients when they're dealing with that gap in employment?
That they're getting ghosted still.
Mm. Mm.
And the other thing is that it's over, like the job market, and I'm saying this from a holistic approach, like the information, the number of jobs, the opportunities, like there's so much and
Yeah.
it's overwhelming and people don't even know where to start.
Wow.
And they're just like, okay, like I have 100 things and I only need one. How do I know which of these 100 is the right one? So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of jobs, there's a lot of bad information. Um, it's just a lot. It's a lot right now.
Mm-hmm. So with them getting ghosted, is that at what stage are they saying initial resume submittal in the candidate like, hey, thanks for submitting, or after interview with the recruiter?
I think after I don't. So tech for me, I don't think you can get ghosted until you've had contact. And I don't mean you making contact, meaning applying, submitting your resume, sending a message on LinkedIn, trying to connect, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying like getting a response and then nothing after that. Like that's being ghosted. You're not ghosted because you got one of those automated messages 2 months later. That no, you weren't ghosted. You just didn't get considered. Like there's a difference.
Yeah.
So I think the main place folks get ghosted is in that scheduling of the next round, maybe after the initial phone screen with the recruiter. And it's for various reasons. It's not just because the recruiter sucks or because the hiring manager really wasn't interested and the recruiter was too scared to tell you, or because the recruiter, a red bell, a red alarm or alarm went off in their head and they're like, I don't want to move forward. So they just kind of, didn't even deal with you. Sometimes it's a matter of volume, especially now. I'm sure you're experience it too. I don't know any recruiters or anyone that's in recruiting right now that's not. Like we are overwhelmed. We have a lot going on. We're doing a lot of work, even more than we were before, wearing a lot more hats, trying to fill a lot more positions and trying to make every single person who we are in contact with as it relates to the hiring process feel like they are the only one. And it is exhausting right now. So sometimes we forgot. Sometimes we ran out of time. Sometimes, like again,
That's
like
true.
we're just tired.
It's true. It's true.
Yes.
The influx of candidates for roles, and it depends on the role, right?
Yes.
And just the increase in salaries from 1 year ago to it's insane, Kirsten. I'm sure you know it's insane.
Again, I don't begrudge anyone a job, but some of these things that I hear, I'm like,
good for you.
I'm like, where do you work?
Exactly.
It's like if we hire you, does that mean your job is
over? You help them get out, and then hey, I want to take their job, right?
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I know, but it's crazy, and it was funny because I was having a conversation before, and it's just like the housing market, right? These housing prices are just shooting through the
Mm.
roof, especially here in Florida because they're just bidding, 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 and it seems like it's the same thing. Like candidates are getting 30, anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40 uh, k increases uh, in a jump, and it's like, whoa.
That's like remember. I don't know. Yeah, you said you've been recruiting 20 years. So remember
Hmm.
the .com era. People were when they were walking out of one place and going next door and getting
Yep,
another job and it was just life. Plus
that's
stock
correct.
options, plus sign-on bonuses, plus trips. I mean, this a place micro. I call it micro tragedy, but micro strategy used to make my life miserable because of all of the perks that they offered to folks during that time.
Crazy, definitely crazy. And so what would you share? And I want to be mindful of the time. Um, what are some nuggets, some quick advices that you stand by with that you share with your clients? Like, what is the true and try thing? Like, I'm telling you this, so you can execute on the job seekers. What is that? What are those few nuggets?
I think I gave a couple of them. Number one, get to the know because your time is
Mm,
valuable and so is everyone else's. And no's not the end of the world. It's the next opportunity. Those detours, treat them as again, a detour is not the end. It's just a different direction or a little bit longer to get to your final destination. Know what you want, like know what your non-negotiables are, know what your must-haves are, know what your ideal is, and know what of those things you are willing to compromise or back up off of a little bit in exchange for something else. And then the other is what I always tell people, and this is for folks who are serious. I'm not saying if you are an accountant, like don't apply for the brain surgeon job. Like that's not a good fit. But apply for the job that you want, not the job that you think you can get.
mm. That's powerful. That's powerful. So, where can folks connect with you and share? And I don't think we shared this in the beginning. That what services you provide through
Oh,
Trap Recruiting LLC.
okay. So on the career coaching side, I provide resume remixing. I do not write your resume. I empower you to remix your resume, meaning that I give you the tools and all of those things to help you write it because your resume is the only part of your job search that you are going to control 100%. So I empower you to do
Love
that.
that.
I offer interview coaching, job search coaching. I do some, LinkedIn help. I help people, like I said, search for a job, and I use the way that I search for candidates. I give them the tools that I use to search for candidates to search for their own jobs. So they get some recruiter tools that way. On the employer side, I do full life cycle recruiting. I do training, metrics, consulting, all kinds of stuff. I write, as you know, for some things. I write about recruiting. I write about my experiences. I interview some great people for the things that I don't have the most information on. I don't try to fake it. I try to get you guys the best, the best stuff you can get. And where to find me? I'm everywhere at Trap Recruiter. Um, and I am actively recruiting right now. So check my LinkedIn because I have a lot of jobs open.
Right, right.
please,
I'll let
please
you tell
come
it.
work.
So, with you
Please
doing a
come
lot
work.
of writing, have you written or coming up with a book? Have you published a book
I have not published a book.
yet?
Um, I have a book in me. I know. I think
Hmm.
everyone does,
Hmm.
and I do have plans for things. But like I said, I'm a bit overwhelmed and overstretched, overtaxed right now
Hmm.
in terms of doing things specifically for Trap Recruiter. Because I am contracting with a company that I need to fill their jobs, and that's my priority right now.
Awesome. And feel free if you want to share what types of roles that you're looking for. Go right ahead. What are your priorities?
Yeah, they're primarily either in San Francisco, um, the San Francisco Bay Area, in the New York area. We'll take folks from Atlanta, Florida, anywhere that there's a Visa hub. So yes, I am working with Visa right now, and I work on the product side. So I'm looking for account executives, for chiefs of staff, business development folks, like, yeah, fintech, anyone in the financial services industry that's looking for a new job. Visa has a lot of jobs open. Just come check us out, please.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I hope they don't get me fired for that. Yeah, I'm allowed to say that.
No, yeah. This is part of recruiting. This is part of recruiting.
It is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Kirsten, thank you so much again for your time, your wisdom on dealing with that job interruption. I love the acronym for TRAP. That's pretty powerful. One of my takeaways definitely is elevating your job. Elevate yourself before your job in the company. That's huge. That's huge. That's a T-shirt.
Oh, I have T-shirts.
That's a book title.
Forgot I have T-shirts.
Okay, let me know. I'll buy one from you.
They're on the website. No, I don't have that one, but I'm gonna make. Maybe I'll make one now for you. Maybe I'll make one now that you said that. I have no T-shirts, which is, it says no next opportunity. I have bad, which is more centered towards folks who want to be bold, authentic, and driven. That's for my career coaching folks. I will thrive instead of survive. What else? I have recruiter shirts because we need some love too. So I have a shirt that says, "You're a recruiter. Can you get me a job?" I have 99 recruiter problems because, as you know, I do recruiter problems memes. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff on my website. If you go to my website, there's a link to my merchandise. So mugs, shirts, sweatshirts, type of stuff.
Cool. I'll drop that in there. All
right.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. And I look forward to bringing you back next year. So let's get through finalizing this year and see what new things we can definitely share with the people.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You enjoy. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Music.